In the day and age of more and more AI scammers, we have another person on Threads who's a bit confused about the artwork they received. So let's delve into the situation, and again, please don't send hate to any parties involved. This is a post by user Azukiel the author, and I hope I'm saying their name right. They write, "So, artists and authors on here, please help me point out what is wrong with these sketches. This is what I was given by somebody I commissioned recently. I've already caught so many issues that possibly scream AI, but if you could help me out to build a case, I would very much appreciate it." So these are the two sketches they were given. This is the first sketch, and this is the more refined sketch, the more fleshed out version of the sketch. Oh, there's a lot of issues going on here, and we can point out a lot of them. Also, side note, the reason why I'm standing is that I have a friend staying with me, and the mattress is on the floor. So if I sit down, you can see the bed. But let's just play I Spy of what is wrong with these sketches. And again, let me just add a big old disclaimer. Every artist draws differently. Just because an artist draws like this doesn't mean they're immediately using AI. We're going to grab everything together and just take a peep at, the context clues, right? Every artist has their own art process, but these are why I think this is a suspicious piece. We got a lot of oddities going on. This is a sketch that's given, but the sketch is with like full confident lines where they know basically exactly where everything needs to go. Sketches are inherently pretty messy, and you might make the argument, okay, well, a sketch that's given to a commission client would be cleaner so that, a client who is a non-artist would kind of understand what happens, because some basic sketches look really, really blocky. They look really, really choppy and scuffed, and that's completely fair and completely understandable, right? It might be a little cleaner. This is somehow simultaneously a really clean sketch and a really blocky, messy sketch at the same time. If we look over here, the lines again are very confident, very straight, very sharp. We have guidelines. Somehow the guidelines are drawn. They're doing the whole circle for finger knuckle thing. It's when they're drawing a hand, and forgive me, I am drawing with my mouse. But, they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to draw some like lines, which are supposed to be the bones of your hand. This is maybe going to be the palm. Oh, we draw some circles for where the knuckles are going to be. And then we draw, the next joints for the fingers. And then the thumb only has like one more joint. So the thumb might be like this, and they draw like more fingers like that. Hey, yo, I'm not knocking your process. For this, it makes sense for some people, so that's how they like to draw, which is completely fine and dandy as long as it works for you. That's what makes sense at the end of the day. The issue is that these, first off, are not drawn properly because they draw the circle, which is like supposed to represent the knuckle, right, at the tip of the thumb. So it's already in the wrong place. But secondly, like if you're delivering a clean sketch to your client, wouldn't you erase all the guidelines? Like all the other guidelines are removed except for the hand ones for some reason. And again, they forgot to draw the second row of knuckles for like all the hands. They only drew the first row, which like maybe they wanted to do that. They didn't even draw the lines for this hand though. And then we get into extra details. Nobody has eyes, which again, if you're delivering like a sketch to a client for approval, wouldn't you draw everything? Like the eyeballs, which is like pretty important for the face. And then we have some odd details. We got a little thing on the abs, the pectoral muscles, which like maybe there's a scar, but not given full confidence here for this art piece. Then we have this cleaned up version. So okay, they've got eyes now. Nice. You zoom in a little bit. Some things are looking real odd. We've got beads melting straight into the hair. One thing that's a bit odd is the difference in the crispness of the line art that's happening. We have some aspects of the line art for the main character. This isn't like it's a background detail, so it's less important. It's going to be a little fuzzier. This is for the same character. Somehow, the lines for the face is super clear. And the lines for the hair looks like it's done in 480p. Real choppy, real funny. Same for the earring. This character has an earring that is done in really high resolution, but the rest of the liner is again really fuzzy, as if it's like 480p, like a much lower resolution than the rest of the art piece. It kind of looks like this person was trying to generate something with AI, and then the client asked for more specific details. Like maybe the client wanted an earring on the male character. Maybe they wanted like a different face shape for the female character, a ring on the hand or whatever. And so the person went in with a brush and then redrew in all the extra details that wasn't originally generated. On top of the fact that we have the wonkiest looking background ever. Like all the flowers are all melting into each other. This flower is disappearing. Again, it's not an art choice thing. It's more so like this looks like AI artifact type thing. And then hieroglyphs on a pillar that don't really look like hieroglyphs. This thing on the bottom looks like a dumpling. It looks like a xiaolongbao. Kind of making me hungry, not gonna lie. And an artist adds, "This is how my sketches look like. Too many lines, a lot of them are out of place. Artists usually sketch with short, fast lines and brushstrokes. That's why it often looks messy. Your example looks very traced. Even I use circles for joints and angles, but I never stop at the wrist. I use circles also for the head, elbows, arms, knees, etc. But here we have some examples where you see the looseness, you see the flowy lines for the sketch, right? It looks flowy, it looks a little loose, but it is cleaned up enough to where you can tell exactly what's happening. Another artist also shows some of their sketches. So here we can see, again, some sketches. They have some face lines, right? But it's very sketchy, very loose. And then they clean it up a little bit after with some, some more sharpness with the lines. They add the art you've been presented with looks badly traced, probably from an AI image to start with. Another user says the lines are all the same thickness, drawing in all the details for the hair. Her pinky nail is bisected by the finger. The women are missing multiple fingernails, the hair strands looping back in on itself, the details of the hair braids on the woman on the left melting to different hair strands, etc. And OP says exactly, I'm currently circling them and writing details of what's wrong with them right now to send to her. Another person was like, wait, don't do that because that's going to teach them to scam better. And they said, oh, already did. Made a post about it ousting her to the community. I will be more careful next time. And yeah, here we have examples of the missing fingernails. This is the finger bisecting the fingernail. This one is a finger missing a fingernail. The thumb is also missing a fingernail. And a user was like, are you making a case to issue a chargeback on PayPal? And OP says, absolutely. I just submitted it. So the commenter says, oh, I hope it wins in your favor. And OP says, thank you. I really hope so. I paid 150 USD for the first stage and was supposed to pay again for the completion. I live in Japan and yen is weak as heck against most other currencies. So 150 US was closer to nearly the equivalent of 300 for me. And yeah, a lot of people, again, will blame the person who commissions, which I don't think it's fair, right? Being like, oh, you want a cheap art, whatever. This person paid pretty penny, 150 USD, for an illustration like this, which, for 3 characters is a little bit on the cheaper end, but definitely can be expected for a price point, right? And if you're not an artist, you may not recognize some aspects that might look AI. So OP makes another post adding an update, saying that they wrote a fairly blunt email to the artist. And the artist in question was a user named Ria Artistry, where the backup account and the main account was suspended. I wonder why. And this is what they sent. All the circled elements, the hieroglyphs that are not hieroglyphs, AI looking mistakes, the abs that look really odd, the fingernails being missing, hair looping back and forth, the plants being all wonky, the pot being all wonky, the braids not making sense and also melting into the hair, clearly highlighting all the elements of the art piece that look off. So at least on the right side, this person was called out and their pages are gone, so they're no longer able to scam others, but it sucks that this happened in general. And again, this is just one of many of these scammers out there. Which, speaking of one of these types of scammers, here we have another one. This person writes, when will this end? Also, this is on my bookish account as a reader. I don't need character art, but I digress. And here is somebody called Allison Doodles with 11,000 followers following this person, writing, hey, how are you doing? I would love to offer graphic services to you. Would you be interested in getting some stuff? This again already is a bit of a red flag because it's very uncommon for legitimate artists to go and advertise themselves in your comment section or in your DMs. It is almost always scammers doing this. And OP was like, yeah, I'm an illustrator, so I don't really need any work and I don't want to work with AI. And look at their page. This is screaming AI generated. All of these images, they all look like they're drawn by different people in very different styles. And it's also screaming traced. Another person says, ooh, they are a known scammer. They've had like 7 different accounts, which is honestly wild. Like with all of that time and effort, you could just, I don't know, go get an actual job. And I think overall, this post is a really great thread in terms of spotting AI art for somebody who maybe isn't as familiar. This was posted by user Madame Ardent, writing, if you're an author looking for a cover artist, these are some red flags that somebody might be an AI scammer. 1, their portfolio is full of completely different styles, but there's no clear artistic identity. This, I agree. Again, artists are completely allowed to experiment with their art styles, change, maybe draw a chibi today, draw something more realistic tomorrow. Typically, they all look like they're drawn by the same person, and they would have a bunch of examples, like a bunch of chibis that all look, in their style, a bunch of realism drawings, all in their style. If it all looks like it's drawn by 5, 10 different people, it might be. Or it might be traced, or both. 2, they can't show sketches, progress shots, layers, or any kind of work in progress. Another big one. Again, an artist is allowed to show whatever they want. Some artists don't want to show work in progresses, but it does make you look more suspicious if you have nothing to show because there's too many AI scammers out there. 3, their delivery time is suspiciously fast for a fully illustrated cover, or any other art piece that should probably be taking a couple of days to weeks bare minimum. If they're offering to turn it over in like 24 hours, not impossible. There are some artists that do work really, really fast, but it needs to make sense. Their prices are extremely low compared to the complexity of work. Again, this can vary depending on where the artist lives. If they do live overseas, it might end up being a little bit cheaper. 5, they avoid answering questions about rights, licensing, or commercial use. Big one. 6, they can't make specific changes consistently, especially to faces, hands, clothing, or composition. That one is also a huge one. If an artist drew it themselves, they can make the changes. It's not hard to do. There was another story I talked about where the person was like, hey, it was like a couple portrait, and they were like, my partner look is like a lot more tan than what you drew. Can you make them look more tan? And they just couldn't. And if you drew it yourself, you would just open the skin layer and then change the color, and then you would probably modify the shading and highlights so it complements the new skin tone. But, you would be able to do it unless you didn't draw it yourself. 7, their characters look almost right, but something feels off. Strange fingers, melted details, inconsistent lighting, unreadable objects. Big one. 8, they use vague phrases like digital magic or custom art, but never explain their process. This one is also a really big one. Like an artist who draws their work, they can explain to you as to how they did it. 9, they refuse to sign a contract or provide clear terms. 10, their portfolio has no client history, no tag authors, no real reviews, and no visible evolution over time. This one also gets a bit tricky because, okay, yes, there are many new artists who are new to the scene, so they don't have clientele to show, but by portfolio, they also will have past existing work you can see, where you can see their progress and evolution as an artist. If an artist spawns out of nowhere with immediately beautiful looking artwork that looks very advanced with no prior history of their username being attached to any other art accounts, no old art that they're showing, they aren't a foreign artist who might be posting on I don't know, Weibo or something, which is a Chinese platform. So that could explain, not having a US presence because they were present in international social medias, literally no existence of them whatsoever. And then out of nowhere, boom, advanced art conveniently after 2022/2023 when Stable Diffusion became popular. I wonder, is this artist legit or can they possibly be scamming? They're probably scamming. So do your due diligence. At the end of the day, it sucks that there's more and more scammers coming into the space. I hate to see people getting scammed, but if you're going to spend a pretty penny on artwork, praying that you're getting something legitimate, okay? So just keep your eyes peeled. At the end of the day, there are more and more scammers coming out of here, and it always sucks. So with that, what are your thoughts on the story? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Again, I'm standing because I have a friend staying with me, which is why a lot of my videos are in this outfit. Also ignore my hair, okay? Really hot today. I was in Palm Springs and went golfing and sweated my hair out. So yeah, anyways, I have a coffee. Check me out there. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources like a free sponsorship guide. And yeah, I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST, and Thursdays at 7:30 where I do a podcast with my friend. So I hope to catch y'all there or in another video. Peace.